Welcome to the Firehouse, the show dedicated to the brave men and women who serve our communities.
Let's do it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Firehouse on WRHU 88.7. I am your host, Chris Moses, and today, sitting with me in the Firehouse is my boy, Joe. What's going on from Franklin Square, Munson? And we're going to talk about that, right? Because I want to know why it's Franklin Square and Munson versus just Franklin Square. But what's going on? Thank you. And say the last name, because I want to make sure I say it right.
Gerrato.
So I was right. I was like, I want to make sure, Joe Gerrato, but I'm like, I want to make sure. All right. So, Joe, listen, I know who you are. I read your bio, and it's amazing. I can't wait to get into these things. But I want you to introduce yourself to the audience. So tell them your name, which we already know, Joe Gerrato, your department, how long you've been in, what ranks you've held.
Okay. So very simple. My name is Joe Gerrato. I'm a member of the Franklin Square Munson Fire Department. I started October 1st of 1997, so I'm just completing 27 years. I'm assigned to Engine Company 1. We just recently celebrated our 100th anniversary last year in 2023. We were the first original engine company that was formed back in the day. That's how we get the Franklin Square in Munson. I've held company office from company secretary, lieutenant, captain numerous times. I've been elected as department treasurer at one point. I also hold the appointed position of a chief assistant fire inspector, which helps out within the department with pre-plans and vital information. I'm an ex-president of our Exempts Benevolent Association. I'm a current trustee. Just recently elected to 7th Battalion delegate, and of course ran through the ranks of chief, second assistant, first assistant chief of department, and then just most recently again re-elected to go back at the bottom and start as the
bumped your head
again.
And you decided to go back in all the way. Yeah. All right, so the first question I want to have is just how you started, but really quick, there's something that only you've said since I've started doing this show. No one has brought up the exempts.
Right.
No one has brought up that yet. So I do know I want to get into your story, but I just quickly, if you can explain what the exempts are. So for our audience that doesn't know what that is, or the newer guys that we keep telling sign up, explain what that is really quick. Because you're ex-president.
Absolutely. So we'll keep it simple for the people who are non-fire department to understand.
Okay.
So the Exempts Benevolent Association is pretty much the formation of the organization where they help members and families. Okay. So in a nutshell, with our department is we take care of our own. Basically, when people are in dire straits, they need help. You have a crutch, sometimes a financial crutch, to help you get back on your feet. People that are injured, when you're out of work, when you're out of the fire service, when you're injured. Unfortunately, when members pass away, there is a benefit there to help the family, funeral services, as well as being there for the family before, during, and after. It was started by all our senior forefathers, all the original members that knew every bylaw, knew everything about the department, and their goal is when they were set up back in the day was protect your own, take care of your family.
I love that.
And that's pretty much what we're trying to continue.
And that's what the exempts are. So now, really quick, when it comes to the exempts, this is not just a Franklin Square Munson thing, right? So explain. It's
statewide. Depending on the department. Yes, there's different charters that were formed eons before any of us were born or started the fire service. Things obviously have to adapt to changing times and society. Yeah. Obviously, you know, we can't do everything. There's things legally, state that's required, that we have to follow strict guidelines. It's not. Some people think it's a piggy bank or things like that. It's not. It's basically a support to make a member that's whole when they're down and out, injured, or can't
need that help.
Continue their service.
Yeah, and need that help. All right, I love that. So I just wanted to bring that up because no one has mentioned that yet. And it's funny that no one in all these interviews has.
And every exempts are different from every department. They do something different for their members. It's how they set up their charters to protect their members and how they feel they should take care of their families.
Yep. Okay. All right. So thank you for that because we had to bring that up. So I'm glad you had said that so people understand what the exempts are. So now,
organization for the new members to join. A lot of the young guys don't understand that.
Please say it.
So a lot of the young members, when they come in, a lot of people are not thinking about what I'm going to get and the positives of it. So a lot of our senior members are our advocates to say, listen, sign this application. It's
Get it in.
$6 a year to get in, and the benefits basically outweigh that $6. And you know what? What can you get for, say, $6 or $10 a year? The protection that you have, you're down and out, you're having a problem.
You know, got the help.
A member is injured and they need a wheelchair. We get that wheelchair for that member so they don't have to buy it, or insurance doesn't cover it. That's pretty much what it is. And trying to explain that to the new generation is
it's hard because they're like, well, I'm not thinking about tomorrow, let alone you telling me to think about 10 years.
That's what we rely on our senior members that are still here to help
push that and get it going. All right. So Joe, enough about that. Let's get into you. So we got to start. Like, how many years in total?
So I have 27 years in the department, and I also did 2 years in our Explorer department. Which
so kind of like the juniors, right?
Which we just recently transitioned.
So we're talking 29 years in total.
Yeah.
I know you got some stories, Joe. We got some stories. We're going to get into those, but let's start from the beginning. I always like to start from the humble beginnings. What makes you, would you say, 97 you joined?
That's right, in the department.
97. What makes you say in 97, I'm going to join? Well, you joined the juniors when? That was 97 you joined?
No, I joined the juniors when I was 14.
All right, so what makes you even want to do that? So there's tons of things to do after school. Why go down to a firehouse?
I would have to blame my brother for that one, because he was a member of the department.
What's your brother's name?
Carl.
Carl? Shout out Carl.
And when I was growing up, it was just me and him. Growing up, he was much older than me.
Okay.
He's 12 years older than me. So I was the younger brother. He was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, and then seeing him go to the firehouse, things like that, I was like the tag-along annoying brother that showed up at the firehouse.
Yep.
And then would go on calls, and I would be either in the car or hanging around the firehouse, being that little kid that, you know, being annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of grew, learned it, I liked it. A lot of the old-timers back in the day, as I came up, considered they were all like uncles. You know, you got an Uncle Raj, you got an Uncle Lou,
That's right.
all these people learning. They were like extended family fathers. I kind of got into it, followed it, got involved in the Explorers, went running on it, loved it. And then going through school, it helped out. And the biggest part that got me, which really kept me going, is in high school, in our high school, there's community service that's needed, that's required.
Okay.
And you need to do something within the community. So I was the first one that used the fire department as a community service elective that you needed. You record your times.
Wow.
And things you had to do.
Okay.
And it sparked other people to
join.
And we had a good Explorer group. And when we came in, which I served as the captain of it our senior year in high school, when we came in, we had the largest probie class that came from the Explorers. We had 8 people that joined.
Wow.
All from our high school. We were all friends together. We all joined.
Gotta love it.
We came in, and it was the spark that got it going. And that's what got it going, and I've never stopped running since.
And never stopped
doing everything, trying to do everything.
So, all right, so we do that. Now you decide you're going to pick your, now, Franklin Square, Munson, do they have companies?
Yes, we have 6 companies.
Okay.
We have 3 engine companies.
Okay.
Ladder company, heavy rescue, and a fire police company.
So how do you choose your company, right? We got to know, how do you choose your company?
Fire departments, traditionally, I know a lot of it's kind of going by the wayside or are slowly dying because of the membership, but the fire departments were families. Tons of families. You could look down the gear rack and see all the names lined up, brothers, uncles, whatever it may be. Basically, through probation on our department, it's pretty much you kind of get assigned to the companies that need it or things that you levitate towards, like I'm good at truck, I'm good at rescue.
Okay.
And also company offices and companies start polling and start electing, say, I want this guy, I want that guy. They see it during training.
Okay.
For me, it was family. My brother was in engine company 1. We always had a tradition where we give the courtesy to families. You have the option to go to that company if you want, but you don't have to.
You don't have to.
But if you're in the company, say, listen, all right, that one's automatically going to go to that company. If they make it through and they're solid, they're going to stay with their family. That's kind of what brought me there. And also a lot of the senior members that I grew up with as a kid were in that company. And they used to,
that's where the family
they kept me in line. I was the little runt, and now I'm the bigger runt.
Now you're the bigger runt.
That's what
all right, so that's how you pick your company. So you end up joining, you're in here, and you're like, all right, like you said, hit the ground running, I'm in here. What then makes you say, I want to now be a boss? I want to start lieutenant and start doing things like that? Because Some people, like I said, some people just stay, you know, as firefighters. I don't want to do any more than that. But what makes you say I want to go to the next level?
So what I liked about it is my company, when I started, small company, small group of guys, you know, just like everywhere in the volunteer service, we're all seeing it now. Membership fluctuates, big, small, we lose members, we gain members. My company was traditionally smaller. It was one of the original engine companies, but, you know, a lot of people levitate for certain companies for social aspects, as we all know. And, it came to the point where we had a lot of senior members, guys recycling, as they call, going in and out of office. I was coming up. I was hitting the ground running. I wanted to learn everything. I was taking every class. And a couple of the senior members at the time said, all right, it's your turn. I was like, my turn for what? And like, you're going to start as company secretary. I'm like, okay, why? They go, company secretary is your stepping stone. You're going to learn you're going to learn the paperwork. You're going to learn the inner nonsense, how to write a letter, how to deal with the interworkings. And okay. So next thing I know, I started doing that. I was given a briefcase and old ledger books and stuff. I'm like, okay. And that was the start of transitioning. Okay, what if we do it this way? Let's put it on a computer. Yeah. And so kind of modernized the company. We started moving, going along, and then started from there, went to lieutenant, went through there, and I enjoyed it because I felt there was you could make a difference because there was a lot of senior members that were still officers. Okay. I was one of the group of the younger ones that came in. And so now it's like a transition. We're kind of coming in, not trying to change the world, but like, hey, let's try to do something different. And it took a while, but it was
change is hard. Change is hard in the fire department.
And what helped is all of us that came together as explorers that joined, we all ended up being officers at the same time in our companies that we went to.
Oh, doesn't that make it beautiful?
And it worked really well. We all served together and, you know, we worked together, you know, meetings, say, listen, my company's going to bring this up, blah, blah. He goes, we need support on this. All right, you got it. You know, we worked on it.
Because you're all friends.
And it worked well. And the one thing I can say is being an officer and now a chief, if you're doing it with people you're friends with or you've grown up with, it makes it so much better. You know what you're expecting from each other. Yeah. Yep. And you're on the same page.
You're all on the same page. So I got to now bring up the chief thing because now you decide I'm lieutenant, I'm captain, and now I want to go to chief. Yes. So that now changes your outlook on everything, right? Yes. Because now you're just doing, before you're just doing a company. Now it's all the companies. Can't be biased, can't be this.
100 different personalities.
There you go. So how do you deal with that? How do you hold that together?
So one thing that
especially, and let me just really quick, especially because sometimes these are all of your friends that sometimes
put you in those positions.
Makes it a little harder now. Yes. So please talk to us. Like how.
The one thing that I wanted to do when I went to run for chief, the one thing I stressed that I wanted to be the person that was there, not pounding my chest. I wanted to be there to help people. Okay. And I wanted to change the dynamic of, we all grew up coming into the fire service and this is the way, you know, you walked in fear of the chiefs or, you know, you don't go down the hallway, you know, you don't see them on calls. We've changed a lot to try to make things more enjoyable, trying to get more families down, trying to get the younger people, want people to be down there. It's still a struggle. All the fire departments are having it. Of course. I wanted to make it where, you know, I can approach everybody and they can approach us. Open door, as we always used to say. You know, people say, you never go down to the chief's office, but listen, you want to come in, knock on the door. And I enjoyed it. I ran before the last time I won, I ran another time. It wasn't in the cards. Okay. Those senior people said, keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Because, you know, the one time I lost the election, that night, you know, everyone has the hangouts, the election time, there's calls. Right after that, I lost, I was on the rig.
Right on the rig.
I was driving or I was the officer. And everyone's like, what are you doing here? What? It's like you just lost. I'm like, my job I enjoy what I'm doing. I love it. And that's what we try to instill people. And when I was doing it, everyone was like, wow. It's like, he's here. And the senior guy, keep doing it.
There you go.
He goes, it's going to work out. And you know what? I kept doing what I had to do.
Worked out twice.
I went back in as a company officer, needed it. There was a stint where I served above my brother, and then there was a time I served under my brother.
Yeah, is your older brother or younger brother?
He's older.
Older.
So I was the captain, he was the lieutenant. So there was a understanding that I'm the boss now.
That's right. Okay? That's right.
And then obviously it got reverted back. He was the boss. I was lieutenant. but it's a working dynamic. You have to make it. Just like everywhere, the yin to the yang, the good cop, the bad cop.
Okay.
Everyone considered me as the good cop. Let's go talk to Joe.
Let's talk to Joe.
He's the good. But yeah, so that dynamic, that was I wanted to do when I ran for chief. And I think it helped because in the end and during it, a lot of people that were either not sure of me, because one thing in the fire service, I know probably people that once you have family in the fire service, that everyone has to make their own path.
That's right.
And 2 ex-chiefs said to me, take your own path. The road splits.
That's right.
You don't have to follow in someone's shadows. You don't have to
because you get lumped in sometimes.
And they said, listen, do what you feel is right and how you want to act. And you know what? And I did that, but I never lost any core values of structure of going to school, training, learning everything you can, do what you got to do. Everyone has their own way of doing things. And I kind of chose my path, but didn't lose that connection of family.
Okay.
Say, listen, I'm doing the same job as you, but I'm doing it a little bit different. And you know what? Understandable, worked. We each had different paths. We did different things. And I think that helped out. It resonated. Because, in the fire service, we're always harder on our families than someone on the outside.
Always, that's right.
We give the world to people coming on the outside. Family, it's like, all right. We know what we're dealing with here. But it worked, and it helped out where a lot of people that were not too sure of me or not a big supporter came to me and said, you know what, you really surprised us. Yeah. And you're doing an awesome job. Keep doing it. And I enjoyed it when people that are my elders, our senior members, come to me and ask for help. And I'm able to do that. That's the best thing I can tell people when you run for something is having the ability to help somebody and they're appreciative of it. And there's times where we've helped people on the side and say, listen, come to me. Some people come to me. Everyone goes to their certain people for certain things. I'm going to talk to Joe. I'm going to talk to Mike. Everyone has their person they can rely on. And the one thing I liked is I enjoy helping people. So if somebody has a problem, I always try to be the listener. One thing I've learned, don't jump right away on a decision unless you have to on a fire ground. But when it comes to making policy decisions, everything, weigh it all out. One good ex-chief, Roger Berger from my company, loved him, called him Uncle Roger. I have a picture of him behind my desk. Unfortunately, he's passed on. He always would come up to me and say, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror when you go home to your family and kids that you did the right decision. You
did the right thing.
So every time when I always used to joke and I said, what would Roger do in this? And I can almost hear him like, nope, you're doing this. You're doing it this way. So I kept little values like that and it's kind of helped me.
Those are those senior guys. We talked about that before. Those senior guys are important.
And what I like is I like training and helping people with the traditions of learning.
Okay.
So like my assistant chiefs I'm with now, they were behind me. Now I'm behind them. I helped train them when they came as explorers and probies. So good group of great. So I helped them in the chief. So now I'm guiding them, which I always like doing. I have no problem, no matter who it is. If it's a commissioner, help me out. They know I'm good with this. And that was the goal running for office, is to make something positive, give a different light, and try to make it more enjoyable for everybody.
Make it more enjoyable.
Not make it stressful.
All right, so listen, we now got to get into these stories.
Let's do it.
Let's get into these stories. So I know, no, before we get into the stories, Franklin Munson.
Yes.
We didn't talk about that. So, why not Franklin Square just alone, Franklin Square Munson? Like, where did we get that from?
So, like I just explained before we started, our department, as long as Uniondale, same thing. We just celebrate our 100 years of service for our communities.
Okay.
We were both formed the same times.
Okay.
But prior to that, there was the Franklin, the Ladder Company of Munson. So it was Franklin Hook and Ladder of Munson, which was a section of town in Farmtown in 1907, was an area of the community that formed a ladder company. Okay. Back then, there's many histories of, back then it was all farms. So back then it was the Ladder Company of Munson and the Engine Company of Limbrook took care of all these areas. It was back in the day. In 1923 was the Franklin Square Hose and Chemical Company that was formed, which was my company.
Hose and
Chemical Company. That's what it was called back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah. So now those were independent fire companies.
Okay.
Worked for a while. Then was the need of everything grew and expanded. So they formed together in 1924. The Franklin Square Hose and Chemical Company and the Hook and Ladder Company of Munson formed the Franklin Square Munson Fire Department, which then formed Franklin Square Fire District after that, and then history just goes from
And
there.
then it
the
goes from
formulation of all the different companies started from there. Our engine company branched off to form Company 2. So we originally had our own Firehouse on Hempstead Turnpike, just like the ladder company did. So basically that roster back in the day completely split itself in half and made 2 engine companies.
All right.
And then eventually
Engine
when
1
the
and
district
Engine
was
2.
formed, then they built the headquarters, and that's when everybody formed together.
Okay. So makes sense. All right. Because we want to make sure
2
we clear
independent
that up.
companies came together
and joined together. Makes sense. All right. So let's start with these stories, Joe.
Go.
I know you got something good for me. So let's do the first one. Let's do it. Go ahead. So any story, fire, even if it was you just starting out or as a chief, give us something. We want to hear it.
As we know with the fire service, as a probie, you're taught the most important job in the fire service to the most newest person, which is getting water to the engine.
We talked about this a couple times. Why do we do, Chief? I don't understand this. Why? I guess because we want to go inside.
I think it's a rite of passage.
It's like this is the most important job.
Right. And it is the most important, but I think it also teaches, that's where in our department, when we go through all the different trainings of the companies, is this is where you're going to learn if they're going to be able to do the job.
Yeah.
Listening to orders, paying attention, getting the right hose off, having your tools from start to finish. That's going to be the make or break if this person has got it. Okay. And that's how I see it, because that's where we you either weed them out and say, listen, you're good at this, but you're not good at this. That's kind of like the basis of where they're going to be an engine, that they know what they're doing. But yeah, when you're a probie, that's your job. You're the hydrant man.
That's it. That's what you're doing.
And they always say you never forget your first.
That's right.
So my first hydrant wrap, as they call it, when you wrap the hose, for the people who don't understand, and we go to the fire, was a working car fire. First time. When I started back then, the trucks were still partially open cab trucks. You're still able to ride on the side of them, not in the back. So back then it was hard. Hose was heavier, equipment was a lot heavier. And back then, my probie class was the last group that had long coats and roll-up boots.
Wow.
So I was the last probie group that was that before full transition to bunker gear.
Okay.
So getting off, making sure the rubber boots are rolled up, making sure I had everything, doing everything. Car fires, rip roaring, do all my stuff, wrap the hydrant, do everything. Did the whole process, went perfect. Afterwards, back then, obviously, radio communications. Back then, we had these old radios with these long whip antennas. We used to call it the Statue of Liberty, to make sure you got reception, that they could hear you, hand signals. And that was my first time wrapping a hydrant. My job went perfect. Ran to the truck, grabbed my tools, what we do, get to the thing.
Okay.
They're doing what they had to do. Next thing I know, I'm standing there like, what are you doing? I'm like, obviously they knew, former Explorer, family, go, get over here. You're getting on this line and pulling on. I'm like, am I allowed to? Let's go.
I just told you. Yeah, you're allowed
okay. Right in there, helping feed the line outside, obviously, for a car fire.
Yeah.
And right there, it happened. I was like, all right, everything went well. I didn't get yelled at. I love it. And it was the talking point where, all right, you did it. Now everyone goes, all right. Everyone takes their little mental notes. Everyone on the truck, all right, he's got that. He knows what he's doing.
He knows that, yep.
And you always remember the first call. But as a firefighter, everyone always has the stories. All the old timers that either sit at the table, the 4 o'clock club. We used to
That's right. Which I will say, where you learn the most. We've talked about them before.
Yes.
Sitting at that bar, sitting at that table, 4 o'clock in the morning, or even
I learned
that's where you learn
about pump operations and how to pump a rig.
The things they know. The things they know.
We had some rules in our firehouse, which we, traditional is no probie is allowed behind the bar unless you're serving yourself or somebody. It used to be, you always used to ask the guys. That's how you learned who they were.
That's right.
Chief,
that's right.
Do you want a drink? Do you need ice? Do you need something?
That's right.
That's the traditions that we were taught. And I would come back there, Chief, you need anything? Blah, blah. Yeah, or another old old rule was you couldn't wear a hat behind the bar or anywhere unless you were the ice man. You were the old school, the ice buckets. So it was like little things like that.
I loved it. What's so crazy though? And just for our listeners, each firehouse, They all have their own little rules. So in our firehouse, it's when you walk in the door, you make a right before a left, because if you go to the left, it's to the lounge, right is apparatus. Before you walk to that lounge, make that right, go check those rigs, do all of that. Every firehouse has their own things, but it's all in good nature of training and teaching you. So I love that.
And the biggest part with us was all of our senior members were all military.
Okay.
So our place was big paramilitary.
Oh, so
we
they
always
no joke.
recognize people by their rank.
Okay.
And we still teach our probies now. Even my friends, they'll see me, Chief, hey Chief. You know, we try to teach that early, Captain, Lieutenant, because it instills that, you know, the respect to understand where they are. Yes, they're your friends on the outside, but when you walk through these doors,
you
in a way,
respect that rank.
as we always push, in the public eye.
That's right.
On the fire scene, Chief, Lieutenant, not like, yo, Joe, get over here.
Yeah. No.
You know, things like that. And we instilled that from them. And one of the stories that it's funny is everyone has a story, and I actually tell this now, is I actually had a fire story. Newly, maybe 2 years off of probation in the company, we were at the firehouse doing hose repack on the engine.
Okay.
We had almost a full company. Some senior, us couple new guys.
Okay.
And came over as an automatic alarm. Okay, automatic alarm. On the way there, police is on scene reporting they got smoke pushing from the house. All right. I was in the back with two other new guys. We all started the same in the company. We got put into the company at the same time. A couple senior guys. One of our senior ex-captains was driving. My brother was the officer in the front. We get there. It's rocking. Smoke is pushing. The guys wrap the hydrant. I'm with one of the senior guys in the company. Okay. And we're getting together and like, all right, you guys got the line. I'm like, all right, we're doing this. Let's go.
Let's do.
So, you know, we're going to the whole, he's a senior guy. We always do. I said, you got the nozzle. He's like, you got it. I got you. I'll back you up.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's do that.
We go in, they're doing their, you know, as we know, we run as companies, we run as department, but we have individual companies. So our, whatever engine is in rotation is the first one out the door, followed by the ladder. So we were there first, make a quick entry. We're getting ready to go in. My brother's the officer doing a search. Smoke is pushing. We have another officer coming in with us from the other rig saying, we got a basement fire. The smoke is chugging up the basement stairs, going through. I'm like, all right, so I know, let's get down the stairs right away. Let's push the hose line. I hit the stairs. I'm like, all right, I'm doing everything.
Doing everything that you
Heat's blowing up. And I go, let's get down the stairs. So let's go. It's hot. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. I'm scared, but we're going to do it.
But
we go downstairs.
What your
we're going down there, and then I hear a lot of commotion and yelling. So I'm trying to clear. I hear it crackling. You hear the fire, and he's behind me. Goes, I hear it. I'm like, it's got to be here. It's getting hot. So we're making our way down the stairs. It felt like the stairs were forever, like it didn't end. We're trying to pull the hose. We're getting it in. And then I hear my brother yelling, Joseph, get out of the basement stairs. Get out of the basement. I'm like, what the hell's going on? They're like, get out. They found out the floor on the first floor in the front of the house already collapsed. So it's been already going.
So it's been cooking for a while.
I'm like, all right. So we start backing out the line, and I crank the nozzle a little bit, get some water, get out. As we're doing that, the stairs flashed and it went red, and we kind of got lifted, like we felt the lift get pushed out. We got pushed out of the room, up out of the stairs. We were like maybe 6 steps up. We got pushed out, and then all of a sudden, all you saw was flame. I got pushed back. My partner got pushed back. All we see is red, and then it goes black. We're like, what happened? My brother was there. He slammed the basement door. We rolled out. There was a sliding door. We rolled out.
Okay.
So we had the sliding door was open. We go into the basement. It's feeding the air. The smoke's coming up. And that's where it was falling, but it already fell to the first floor. Found it was a basement fire. We get out. We check. We're good. My helmet was all singed, like the shield, everything. I was like, wow. So
let's just back up really quick. What's going through your mind when you see all of that red? You see, like, what's going through your afterwards? And just for our listeners, red is fire, is what he's seeing. And so just explain, like, what's going through your head at this moment.
One thing that I remember the best out of it is our breathing air turned hot. Like, oh my God, it's hot. I'm like, oh my God. Like, you felt it. Everything they say, like, it was textbook. It was happening. Everything got hot. Had my hood and everything on. Like, all right. It's hot, but I'm not in pain. You know?
I'm good.
We get out, we roll out, we take everything off, we're checking everybody, we're checking everything.
And just really, I'm sorry, I just want to back up. You said, just for our listeners, you said your air got hot. Right. Explain what that means.
Our breathing tanks, we'll keep it simple, our breathing tanks that we wear on our back, which is the compressed filtered air. It's not oxygen. While you're in that air, it's a cylinder tank on your back. And the amount of heat and the hoses and everything, as you're constantly breathing, the heat obviously radiates on it.
Yep.
And next thing I know, I feel hot air blowing, and I'm like, oh my God,
Like,
my
wow.
air's hot.
When you take that
Right.
breath, you're like, why
It's
is
not-
this?
So
this is not.
there was a
This
little
is
panic, but once we
Yeah.
got out, we regrouped. We
Okay.
realized what happened,
Okay.
and we're like, all right, this is what happened. We attacked it. It was a raging basement fire. The people weren't home. The alarms
Wow.
worked.
Okay.
But after that, though, when we did our critique and after we found out what happened and
Mm-hmm.
how we did, and we always have a critique after a fire.
Okay.
But from that point on, the senior guy that I was with, he always says, he'll tell people, he goes, I never thought I'd have a story. He goes, I thought for sure when that happened, I thought we were dead. He goes, but when I heard Joe had that hand line open and we slammed, we got blown into like the cabins, he goes, I knew we were good.
Yeah.
But he tells people, he goes, I'll never forget that story
He
because we
thought
were
it was-
together. And I'm like, I never thought I'd have a story like this.
Wow.
Because
Look
you
at
always
that.
hear like, oh yeah, back in
Yeah.
the day, and, we contributed to my brother, other officers saw the conditions, what was happening. We didn't see it. If we were tunnel
Yeah.
vision going in to do the fire, saw the conditions, we didn't know. They said there were the fire snakes, flames blowing, or going above our head. We didn't even know. And it
You're just
worked.
doing your
Right.
job.
And
But that's
that
what
was the
that-
story. And
yeah.
I learned from that. So now, teaching points is we always don't rush into a basement fire. We look for a secondary way.
That's
We
right.
could have went through a side door.
Yep.
Wait to see where it is first. Do a quick.
Mhm.
So when we come to basement fires, that's the first thing I do. I always say, even as a chief, I always try to look for because sometimes you go in that side door, your basement stairs is right there. Go right
That's
to the
right.
basement. It's right there. Why travel through the whole house and let it grow?
That's right.
So that's
Yeah.
one thing I learned from that story is always find another way and don't rush into it.
And don't rush. I love that. I love that. All right, man. You got some
Yeah,
stories. You got some stuff. All right, so let's get into another question.
Go.
Really quick, real kind of fun question that I've always asked. Something you want to debunk about firefighting right now. I mean, doesn't
There's a
even
lot.
have to be. It could be about being chief. It could be about anything.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So what is something you'd want to debunk right now for the listeners?
I would say now, because we have a lot of people moving into our communities, trying to look for better lives from the city,
Okay.
that we're not paid and we're not sitting there all day waiting to get call for help. We find it now, even during fund drive. People do their fund drive. They don't understand the difference between
Yeah.
volunteer and paid. That they're not from the city where, we're leaving the firehouse. We're leaving our houses.
That's
We're
right.
leaving our families.
That's right.
We're leaving sometimes our jobs if they're allowed in town, or we're leaving watching our kids at the ball field or something. That I think is the biggest thing, that to get the community outreach. That we're
Yeah.
volunteer. We're your friends and neighbors. We're the firehouse is made up of everybody in the community, teachers,
CSS
cops,
ShopRite, I always say.
and that's the biggest hurdle. I think, or debunking that everyone thinks we just sit around. Yes, we have guys that love to hang around. We have duty crews trying to get that atmosphere, hang out. Let's get
Yeah.
the rigs out quick. But, sometimes we've gotten phone calls, say, stop the firehouse, there's nobody there. Where are you guys? Say, listen, we're volunteers. Or if we answer a phone call message later, we
Yeah.
try to explain to them. And when you explain, like, oh my God, you do this all for nothing? Like, say, listen, we're
It's not nothing, though, but yeah.
as we try to explain to them, we have some people that try to explain it when we do the community groups, that we are the unpaid professionals.
That's right.
We do the same thing as the paid. We have the same trainings, the teachings, and the people that start as a volunteer get that
Usually-
stepping stone into the paid.
Yep. That's
So in a way, it's a stepping stone for everything. But that's the biggest thing, is to let everybody know the majority of the country is volunteer,
That's right.
and we got to try to keep it alive. And
That's
it's
right.
slowly dying, and that's what we're trying.
And that's what we're trying to do. Trying to get it
Yeah.
back and get that oomph back into there. It's gonna happen.
Things
It's gonna
like this
happen.
helps
There we
the
go.
promotion of it.
There you
That's
go.
the biggest thing is
Yeah.
recruitment.
That's it. Recruitment, retention too.
Yeah.
Recruitment and retention, because
Yeah.
we want to keep the people that we have, especially the younger guys. Keep them in here.
And it's
They're
a
here
hard
for
balance.
a year. Like, listen, let me show you why you should stay.
And it's a hard balance
It is.
with the new generation of trying to understand people to
Yeah.
listen. This is, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
That's right.
And that's
right.
how I was taught. Listen,
That's
if you're
right.
going to give 100%, you're getting 100%.
You're gonna get
back.
100% back every single time. All right. So let's get into the flashover.
Okay.
All right. So Chief, have you heard of the flashover game? You have it? Okay.
I've
all right.
observed it.
You've observed it. All right. So really quick, Chief, what is a flashover?
So to keep it simple, a flashover is pretty much everything. I was involved in one.
Yep.
It's pretty much when everything in the room or the area simultaneously all explodes and catches fire at one shot.
At one
And
shot.
and it comes
really
at you,
quick, just like
comes
that.
at you like a tidal wave.
Yep, and that is the premise of this game. Really quick, I'll give you something like Android and Apple, and you got to tell me which one it is. We're gonna do TV shows and movies. All right.
Awesome.
It's funny because
love
my
TV.
last show that we were talking, we keep talking about changing the shows, but like the response I get is everybody's like, no, they don't want to change it. They want to know what you're gonna say about these shows. All right, so let's go, Chief. Are you ready for the flashover?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's go. Chicago Fire, rescue me.
Rescue me.
Rescue me, third watch.
To do third watch.
We're
I
gonna
wanna
do
be
third
different.
watch. We're gonna be
I'll be
different. All right, backdraft, ladder 49.
All right. Well, I grew up on Backdraft.
Yeah.
But I'll pick Ladder 49 because Ladder 49 had more of the emotional aspect of the fire.
Someone
service.
else said that same thing, and they said it's a little bit realer than
Because
than backdraft.
I picked that because watching it at the time with my wife, seeing the reals of unfortunately life, you have to make a decision, and that member passed away because they couldn't get to him.
because they couldn't
That
get
was
to
the
him.
emotional aspect. That I thought was more point on of what
more
could really
real.
happen.
Okay.
And that was it.
All right. Now, most important and the last question I'm going to ask, which I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to answer: engine or truck?
Engine.
Engine all the way.
Engine
Boom,
every
boom,
day.
boom, boom. Here we go,
But
engine.
I don't.
And you're engine
discriminate-
1, right?
Yes. And
But then
don't-
you also have an engine 2.
and an engine 3.
And I'm engine 2. And an engine 3. So
Yep.
I'm engine 2.
all
But
good.
there you go.
I don't discriminate against the truck. Like I said,
Of course.
we operate as a department. There was plenty of times when I was an officer, I rolled the ladder truck for a fast team call,
Okay.
or the rescue truck for Hearst Tool operations. We're all well diverse, and everybody has their job, and everyone has their place, and I get it. And we always joke around when I want to. As we joke around, when I want to not do as much work or get tired, I want to do some truck
I'll
work.
do some truck
I want to go
work.
play and
You're going to piss some
open
truckies
some
off of
things
that.
up, break some things up. But hose work is not for everybody. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Yep.
But I enjoy it because the thrill on the engine is you're accomplishing something. You're putting the wet stuff on the red stuff.
That's right.
So when you put
That's
it
right.
out, like that one
It's
time I
like,
did a farm, like,
yes.
where'd it go? That was it?
That was me. I did it.
But
I
it's
put
like
it out.
one shot. I'm like, I was hoping for more, but
Yeah.
it's good. Everybody has it, but I'm engine.
I love it.
I love
I love it. All right. So before we get out of here, Chief, I got to ask
Go.
an important question, all right? About just, like we were talking about the newer people there and things like that. What type of advice do you want to give for the person that's listening right now that's thinking about joining, or the person that's in and they've only been 6 months, 7 months? What type of advice would you want to give them right now?
So the people that are in now that are just new, I would definitely say, which we tell them now, is you need the time. You got to balance work, life, and family. That's the most important.
That's right.
As we all know, state mandates, everything's coming down. We're getting the same mandates as the paid firefighters.
That's right.
So we have to be on the same playing field. And time is everything. Classes, being able to juggle your families, your work. Sometimes we got guys going to school, college. There's a balance. You need the time. And that's the biggest thing that we try to do. And we have tried in our department, make that easier. We've tried every possible thing. Do more trainings to Firehouse, get more Fire Service Academy stuff at our firehouse so people don't have to travel.
That's right.
Do more in-house training, get more people certified as instructors so we can do more in-house, get them the foundation, send them to the Fire Academy. They already know what they're coming into.
Yeah.
We've done that. Anyone that's coming in, the most important is our investigating committee is great at it. We do it is we sit with the prospective member and their family, their significant other, sit down with them at their house,
Very important.
lay everything out with them, and we show them, here's the rules and regs, this is what goes on.
Yeah.
Because without having your family support, you can't do this.
It's huge.
Just for
It's
me, like,
huge.
I'm very active. I pretty much try not to miss anything. My wife says I have FOMO. I'm afraid of missing out. I want to be involved in everything. I enjoy it. If someone needs it, I'm the first one to say, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I have other jobs, got the family, got the kids, but you need to have that balance where your wife, significant other, understands.
What you're doing.
And a great point of it is my wife then ultimately came into the Ladies Auxiliary.
Look at that.
Our friends' wives.
Okay.
So now we have that family dynamic.
Okay.
She understands. They help out at the fire scenes.
Yep.
She's
She's getting up with you.
events, right? And having the family support, I'll say it all the time, you need that. Without
right.
that, you're going to
That's
get the stress. you're not going to be productive. Your percentages are going to hurt. So that's one thing we tried to do is the family. Bring the family down. We tried more family events at the Firehouse, holiday parties.
That's right.
Community tree lightings, kids' Christmas parties, things to get the families to see it and get involved. This is not bad. It's not just a hangout of guys, you know. Right. And that's the big thing is time and the family.
That's right.
That's the biggest.
I love that, Chief. I love that, Chief. So, Chief, am I forgetting anything? Is there anything I'm forgetting that you want to bring up?
I don't think so. I think that, like I said, what you're doing with this show,
thank you,
is great. Because I've shared a lot of it because, like I said, our communities, people don't understand. They don't know. You go. It's very hard. People are not knocking on the doors. Our family members are growing. They're moving out of state, going away, starting careers. It's not enticing as it was anymore. I can see I hate to say it, people saying it's a dying breed. We got to try to revive it.
Yeah,
and I think,
but it's not, because the fire happens. Right. It's not dying. Like, we got to be here.
Either showing up with 5 people, you're showing up with 20 people. And
but you're still showing up. Right. And that's what people got to realize.
And the problem is, what we're seeing is why we need the young people is our senior guys are still doing it because they got that work ethic.
That's right.
I still have guys on the rig, 30, 40 years, sometimes 50, still on the truck, still trying to do it. You know, they know their limitations, but they're doing it. And why we got to get the younger guys to start moving and mobilizing. And the big thing is the outreach. We're trying everything. We're going to the schools. We're doing all the social medias. We're doing QR
Shout them out real quick. What are the social medias?
So we're on Facebook, Franklin Square and Munson FD. We also have Instagram. We're doing everything. Schools, QR codes in the schools so the kids can scan it on our posters.
That's good.
We go to the schools. We do fire drills. We're doing everything that we can. And like your podcast here and all this stuff that goes out, we share it because it's opening the door that people don't understand. And seeing all the different people that have been here right now, we all have different paths or roads, but we're all dealing with the same problems. Right. And we all have to try to fix it together. And I think, we've got some committees in the county that are starting. I know the state's trying. Everyone's trying everything. The biggest thing is communication to the communities, all our community groups, whatever it is, any type of outlet we can do, we're flooding it.
We're going to do it.
We're doing pictures. But the biggest thing is word of mouth, getting it out there and share. That's the only way we're going to survive.
Listen, and I love it. I love it.
The county's increasing all the.
Thank you for what you do, right? And that goes for everyone that's listening. Thank you for what you do. Seriously, thank you for your service, because a lot of people, like you said, and I think that's key that you've said more than once. Like, a lot of people don't understand that this is volunteering. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose that aspect.
And the benefits we get college tuition stuff.
Yep, we talked about that. Yes, that's
tax breaks for homeowners. I mean, it's minimal, but it's still something as a thank you and say, listen. You're going to get this.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying everything. Anything is not off the table, I should say. We're always throwing things against the wall and see if it sticks.
That's it. Listen, Chief, thank you so much for coming down.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming down. Listen, there, you guys, you're in for a treat. All right. So again, thank you so much, Chief. Thank you so much, Chief. All right. So I hope you all enjoyed that. We just heard from Chief Joe Gerrato from the Franklin Square Munson Fire Department about his life as a firefighter. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. Please like, share, subscribe, do all of those things. I am your host, Chris Moses, and please tune in next week for another great conversation in the Firehouse. Here we go.